Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Corey with MileSplit Live here with Travis and Kyle Deacon. We're back for another show, and let's go over some stuff that happened this weekend. Anything that stand out to you guys?
Yeah, before we jump straight into cross country, because we know there's a lot going on there, recruiting season is back already, and it's coming in hot. Tennessee's already got a verbal commitment from Centerville's Yariel Soto. He's the #1 ranked recruit in the decathlon, #3 in the long jump. He's gone 24-win legal, which is phenomenal. So really talented multi-event athlete. He's also a state champ in the pole vault. He's gone 15-6 consistently. So he's a really diverse skill set. He's already verbally committed to Tennessee. So congratulations to him. And then for everyone else out there, make sure you keep sending us in your verbal commitments and your recruiting news as we keep you up to date and give you all shout outs on MileSplit Live.
Definitely, for sure. He's going to be a big guy. This weekend, big weekend. Do we have anything that kind of comes to top of mind from what we saw?
A huge start from Kelsey Chmiel, obviously off the top.
Well, before we go off the Kelsey Chmiel, let's go a little wider because we'll talk about her in depth.
So what were we talking about, Michigan?
I mean, what about Idaho? I mean,
Okay.
we looked at Nathan Green and Nick Russell. Nick Russell was an XN qualifier last year. They both raced to the line this weekend at Jimmy Driscoll. Now, Russell and Stetson Moss were like the class of Idaho coming into the season. We didn't really know a lot about Nathan Green. So what does that winning over Russell this early say maybe about what we might expect from Idaho, do you think?
Yeah, I think you love to see that because even though it is early and you keep hearing so many people haven't raced, so fast times, nation-leading marks don't really matter. At the same time, you don't see kids from Idaho up at the top of the national rankings like that. Like, it just doesn't happen no matter what point of the season you're in. So I think that is really exciting to see some new names coming up here and proving that these could be some kids that we need to watch even later on the season.
Yeah, and it just gets harder for those regional races too, for those athletes vying for spots too.
Right, Nathan Green, obviously, you said we haven't really heard much about him because he only ran one race last season in cross country, in our database at least. But he did pop off a 9:20 and a 4:15 last year as a freshman, coming in now as a sophomore.
Yeah.
15-16 opener. I think we can see big things at him coming up.
Yeah, for sure. And then in Florida too, we had a big performance at a girl that leads Pinecrest, correct?
Yes. Yeah, Sion Yarrett, 1801. She's probably the top girl in Florida right now. So it was a great opener for her. Also expecting to see big things out of her from the South region. So.
Yeah, and the 142 speed rating that we were told that race is pretty good on her part too.
Exactly.
One other thing that was reported last week at a Texas MileSplit, a really well-known runner in Texas, Creighton Carrozza of Austin St. Stephen's, is a senior this year. He was ruled ineligible by his private school governing body because he was past an age point for the season. So Creighton, who ran in the mid-15s last year, definitely has a chance to do really well this year. Will not be able to run for St. Stephen's, which is a big blow to them. He's a huge track guy, but cross-country obviously is where you get a lot of your foundation and you build from.
Yeah, and he had a real breakout season on the track. Being able to hit 150 and 800 is phenomenal. And so I think there's probably a lot of people, certainly in Texas, who are more familiar with him, waiting to see, all right, now where does he go from here in cross-country? Definitely missing out on that is a little bit of a bummer, but we know that while he can't go the NXN route, there's still an avenue to get to Foot Locker Nationals, so he's not going to be racing consistently as if he was on a high school team, but now just kind of throws another wrinkle into it for all those guys looking to be in that top 10 to go out of Foot Locker South. They got to make sure they keep an eye on him to see what he's doing, to see if he can get back in that form solo.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the rule that proved him eligible in Texas, he was a week away from being just a day younger, right? Foot Locker is a little different. You have to be under 19 before August 1st. He obviously was under 19 before August 1st. Turns 19 on August 26th. On August 26th, yes. So that's tough for him, tough blow for him. But, you know, as Kyle alluded to earlier, maybe went above the gun real quick.
Yeah,
but
you said biggest thing of the week. You know, I think that was the biggest thing of the week.
Kelsey, yeah, for sure. Out of Saratoga Springs, traveled to Virginia this weekend at the Plains Great Meadows State Course there. Obviously, #1 time, huge performance, same with their Saratoga. So, is this surprising at all to you guys, or is this an indication of what we're going to see out of Kelsey this year?
I think it's an indication of what we're going to see. I mean, it's marginally surprising. I mean, a 1646 opener from anybody is a big deal, regardless of their name and like their name recognition. But I think the speed rating speaks for itself as well. I believe 162
Super legit.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. So kicking off the season with a 16:46 like that and a huge win, Kelsey Chmiel is for real.
At her best last year, speed rating wise, I think she was 159 at NXN. So 162 to start the season. I mean, obviously she's stronger, she's more mature, but that says a lot about where she's coming into the season.
Right. And they're athletes who we'll talk about later on the show, who sometimes you worry when they open this fast, this early, are they coming in too hot to the season, like they're going to burn out by the end. But I think this is more impressive coming from Kelsey because she's really experienced. That team is really experienced. Their entire season is structured around December. So she's not coming in peaking too early. Like she's coming in on that program that they have her set on to peak at a national championship. So her ability to run 162 in August was shocking because I don't think anyone would have expected her to kind of open that fast. And knowing that she's nowhere near 100% and able to do that is pretty cool.
I looked at the non-state course at Great Meadows, and only 4 girls had broken 18 minutes historically on that course before she came on and broke 17. So, I mean, like, not only is it a really good speed rating, but it's a really good run from her, I mean, on that course.
And
so
I believe that's also the fastest U.S. #1 in August since Ali Ostrander.
Yeah.
Won NXN that year.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, obviously, the New York's got their studs. Maybe Kelsey's putting a little bit of pressure on Caitlin Toohey already without even having raced.
Yeah, there you go.
Very good. On the same token, Saratoga Springs, who's in our national rankings, I believe they're number 19, ran really well. I mean, they didn't really run against the competition wasn't up to their par, but what did you see maybe out of what they were able to do on that course together?
Nothing that stood out. Kelsey can't get fewer than 1 point, so like it doesn't matter how fast she runs relative to the team. She's going to be a single-digit scorer at state and national championships. But the team, you could clearly look at where the rest of the team finished. The rest of that team was not running like she was. They're just getting a rust buster out. They're running well back from where they were. The expected scores were not at the level we would expect them to be. So I don't think there's anything. The thing actually was most interesting probably was the number 2 runner, Ella Corto. She's a young athlete, just a freshman. She only had 1 race last year, which was a 71 speed rating. She opened as number 2 runner at 113.
Wow.
So for her, she wasn't even on their projected list of top 7 going into the season based on all the previews. And now she's a potential top 5 runner. Someone coming in, we knew that we had to see how they developed because they had a lot of 8th graders and younger athletes, and now she was completely off that radar. So we don't know how anyone other than Kelsey is feeling right now, but we do know now they have a new scorer who's looking much better than last year, which could start to mix it up in that group of 4 or 5 New York teams that are kind of all at the same level.
Maybe playing with the roster a little bit, seeing what works at this point. I mean, do you think that's one of the reasons why they got out so early as opposed to last year, where I think Kelsey ran maybe a couple weeks, 3 weeks from now last year.
Right.
I mean, are they trying to figure out what they have this year?
Sure. You have a younger team. They 3 potential 8th graders on their top 7. 2 of which they think the Wheeler sisters are projected to be in the top 5. When you have that, lack of experience, even the Wheeler sisters were, I think, maybe close outside the top 7 in Virginia this past weekend. But just getting them some reps and racing, just to get whether it's getting through pre-race nerves or whatever those situations are, I think you're hitting it right in the spot there. It's like you just got to make sure these kids are feeling comfortable by the time they get to, because especially New York and with how close this year, there's 5 teams with a legitimate chance to make the NXN, and you have to be on when you get towards regionals. And I think that's a big part of why they're opening up early.
For sure. Well, it's a great performance out of Saratoga Springs to open the season in Virginia, but we're going to move on to a freshman in Michigan who for the second straight week has amazed us, maybe even more so than she did last week. Her name's Abby Vandersquai.
Is that right?
I don't know. Vandersquai from Muscadine Central Catholic, a Christian program, but she ran 16:57 this week, breaking 17 for the first time.
Yeah,
putting her in elite company. Right now, she's U.S. #1. But yeah, I mean, last year we were speculative as to whether we would see that again.
Right.
Definitely certifiable now. So, what do we see out of her?
Yeah, I think it's tough. She's legit. I mean, when you have the one race and say, 17:05, quarters probably shorter, things like that. Coming back with a 16:57, yeah, no, that's legit. And also, I mean, from what I've heard, she also ran a road race in July as 17:26. So she's moving down throughout the season. I don't see her going much faster than probably 16:30 or so, but
Oh, is that all?
But if she keeps progressing the way she is, then she's going to put in a challenge.
It would be tough to say that she's like legitimately like a superstar now after
Right.
2 races. I mean, we've had a lot of great freshman girls that have led the nation in their class over the years. Tierney Wolfgram last year, London Colbreth, but even back as far as 2010. Sarah Baxter, a great athlete out of California, obviously went on to do big things. Emily Cezanne, 2006, and Jordan Hussein, 2005. So, I mean, there is history of freshmen really making that huge impact as freshmen and continuing in that trend. But there's a lot of cases where it doesn't happen. So it's tough to say right now. I mean, but we do have a lot of freshmen around the country, maybe that haven't raced so much yet, but we'll see them in the next couple of weeks. We have a few names down now. Do we want to kind of go into a couple of these names real quickly?
Yeah, there's another one from Michigan too, Allison Chmiel. So it's basically Kelsey Chmiel, but add Uski on the end there. 17:35. So I mean, Michigan's got 5 girls under 18 right now already, and 2 of them are freshmen. So, I mean, yeah, 17:35, and you're not even the best freshman in your state. It's kind of crazy to me.
This weekend, I think we're going to see a girl from Minnesota, Allie Weimer, led them last year, St. Michael Albertsville last year. She won a divisional race at NXR Heartland, went 17:49 for a 132 speed rating last year. She's the girl this year in Minnesota that's going to make or break that team as a contender in that state, maybe even getting an XN berth potentially. But she's a girl I feel like might make that next step up as well. Maybe might make some big efforts there. And then there's a girl out of Florida, Lily Henney of Montfort Academy, has been doing great things over the last 2 years, has run well too. But
someone else from Mississippi too that I've just been looking into here is Brooklyn Biancamano. She was really surprising because she was only one of 2 rising freshmen entering the season already under 18 minutes. The only question mark is a little bit is can she race outside of Mississippi well? As underclassmen, she understandably only raced in state, but she's already coming at 17 minutes. Through the past 3 seasons in Mississippi, she's won 5 state titles. She's not even in 9th grade yet, and she only lost 3 total races, 1 in cross country, and then 2 in the 800, and then she won out everything else. 1 state, 1632, 800 cross country. So she's proven that even before she got into 9th grade, she's one of the best in Mississippi. The times speak for themselves. She's also number 2 in her class for the 1600, number 7 in 3200. So the times are there, but can she now take that success and start going out into stronger teams is where I think the big question lies.
what do you think it's going to take for us to sort of look at a freshman candidate and really kind of hone in on whether they have what it takes to compete at a state or national level, or if they're just sort of like a state caliber athlete? Because last year we only really had maybe 2 impact freshman girls at that level, Brooke Robber and Sydney Thorvaldsen. What do you think it'll take for us to believe in somebody beyond maybe a certain statewide?
I think if you go, I think if I see a performance from a national level meet where you're seeing kids who are competing at the national level and they're running with them or they're beating them, I think that's something that would be a big, they can show up on the big stage like that. I also think consistency. So if we consistently see Vanderkooi throwing down 17 flat, 16:55, 16:50, 16:55, because there's a lot of times where you could see a 17:05 and the next week see a 19, or like we said, is it a fluke or not? So I think consistency, competing with those national caliber athletes, those are the 2 things that I look for the most there.
I think Robert got so much respect so quickly because on any given week she was racing some of the top-ranked athletes in the country up in New York, and so it was clear that her performances weren't flukes and that she didn't have to win to prove that she was good. You know, she was losing, but when you're losing to athletes of that caliber, it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, your time's going to come.
I looked at her stuff today because she's number 7 on our MileSplit 50 individual rankings, and she only finished second in 3 races, won all her other races, but she only finished second to Claire Walters and Caitlin Toohey. So, I mean, whether she wasn't winning, she was losing to girls that were maybe a little bit ahead of her in maturity at that point.
And that's why we see her as a national caliber athlete. We put her number 7 because she's competing with those girls. So
Yeah. I thought an interesting thing to note, too, is maybe on the other side, the freshman boy never gets any respect because they just, like, obviously at that point, maturity-wise and physically, they don't stack up to the higher mileages of the older upperclassmen. But a guy from Padre Vedra in Florida, Reinhard Harrison, he runs for Nice. He opened up with a 16-17, and I was looking at NXN over the last couple of years, and there have been freshmen who have run at the national meet, but I don't know if anyone's ever qualified out of a regional as a freshman. So I'm not saying he's going to do it.
Say it.
No, because last year, NXR Southeast last year, the top 6 runners ran 15:10. So I mean, he would have to get extraordinarily better and run like perfectly to get there. But I do think there is a case to be made about a guy who's maybe ahead of the curve, like Reinhold Harrison. When we haven't seen it, when will we see it? That's the question. Do you think that will happen
with Harrison?
With Harrison or anyone in general? I mean, when will it be? Do you think there will come a time, maybe when training, obviously training is developing and advancing at a rocket speed right now, but do you think a freshman will qualify for NXN soon, maybe even this year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think just, using my bias, things we've been seeing with Brandon Miller kind of point us in that direction. I mean, Brandon Miller competing at a national level when he was in 8th grade.
Are you telling me Brandon Miller's going to qualify for NXN?
No, he's not. He is running cross country this year, though. But he's not going to. Well, no, what I'm saying is
Brandon Miller said he doesn't do more than like 3-mile long runs or something. That kid is
I'm not saying he's going to be qualifying for nationals, but I am saying that what we're seeing is with freshmen, him running 149 as a freshman, we're going to be seeing that eventually. I mean, Reinhard Harrison was 157 in 8th grade, 433, AAU stud.
Right.
So he's already run 16-17. I think maybe he doesn't do it, but somebody's going to do it soon. Somebody's definitely going to do it soon.
Yeah, I mean, it is a question. It's tough to predict what will happen, but I think the point you're trying to get across is that, like, with the Brandon Millers, they eventually do come along with enough talent and enough skill. I mean, obviously the mileage has to be where it needs to be, but I mean, maybe, I don't know. Travis
piece has got to fall into place. I think depending on the year, some of it's just luck of the draw. If you're going into a really deep region that year, you're just going to have no shot. But if you go into a region there's some openings on the individual side. Some of those, like, you look at Loudoun Valley, last year, how many guys, that when you're putting that many of their top guys in the top 10 or 15 individuals, you're pulling those out, then you could potentially, and once you take the other NXN teams, you don't need to finish top 5 to guarantee your spot. And so as a freshman, depending on how everything shakes out, maybe you are finishing 10th, but once you take out the team guys, you still get in. So I think it's tough. Sometimes it's just or you get one of those regions where you're going to have no chance because there's 20 really talented seniors that you're never going to beat. So
I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think a freshman's ever going to make it out of Midwest region, for example. Like, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like, even Austin Hindman couldn't make it out of Midwest region. So, like, I think I agree with that. I mean, it'll depend on what region and, like, the day and the year, but I do think it'll happen soon.
Right. Time will tell. We'll see if this year will be the year. But
kids are getting started younger and younger every year. Talking about some of those like AAU stars. At times we saw like 13-year-olds running in Des Moines this year. So you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we have a big slate of action. I mean, probably the biggest to this point happening this weekend, going into the September month finally. We got 4 big meets. We want to talk about Seaside Invitational in California, Memphis Twilight in Tennessee, the Marcus I Invitational in Texas, and St. Olaf Showcase in Minnesota. Let's start with you two. What do you guys think?
What do you think, Travis?
I'm all in on St. Olaf. I mean, I'm a big Minnesota guy. Minnesota teams, cover some meets up there, some workouts. I really like it because of what I saw from Wayzata this weekend on their boys' side specifically, because we knew losing 4 scorers from last year, it doesn't matter that they might have 200 guys in your team. This is still going to be a big reloading year. A lot of questions in terms of, is this team going to be a top 20 team even? Is this team going to make it to nationals with how competitive the region is? We don't know. But seeing how they performed this weekend, running what looked to be their top 7, and if you look year over year at that same meet where they opened, last year they averaged 17:01 with a 38-second spread. This year they went 17:08 with the 40-second spread. So that to me I was like, okay, they're back. Like, no other questions. Yeah. I mean, last year they're a phenomenal, super talented team. For them to come back, lose as many guys as they did, and basically turn in the exact same season opening performance, I think is a really great sign that these guys are back. Wayzata is probably coming into the season then underrated, just based off, it is one performance, but I'm a big Wayzata guy, and I think that I'm really excited. And that's just on the boys' side from St. Olaf. I'm really excited to see how this team keeps going throughout the season.
Yeah, and I mean, the boys look like they might roll in that meet, though, right? You just want to see what they do.
I just want to see more, and who knows, they might run their JV squad or something, but just kind of seeing that season opener turn it so positive when who knew what could have happened there? I'm like, all right, I'm down. Anytime they race, I'm ready to see this team. I just feel like it's just going to be an upward trajectory from here.
Well, our Minnesota editor, Mark Rice, informed us of a big meet on the girls' side, too, though. Yeah. Some heavy hitters on the girls' side. Importantly, from Idaho, Mountain View, a team ranked number 23 on our national rankings in the preseason. They're bringing Lexi Halliday to St. Olaf. We have potentially Emily Covert of Minneapolis Washburn. She's a nationally ranked runner. Wayzata on the girls' side is going to be one of the strongest teams nationally this year. And as we mentioned earlier, St. Michael Albertville with Ellie Weimer trying to help that cause there too. So how potent is this girls' meet this early in the season out of Minnesota?
It's going to be huge. And then last year the Pings were there too.
Yeah.
So with Grace and Lauren finishing first and third. So
yeah.
No, it's huge. I mean, you just listed off. You could have been going. I don't even know how long you were going for, but there were so many girls, teams, and names that you listed off there. It's like, I mean, are the top 10 going to be under 19, 18? What do we like? What's it going to take to get into the top 10 in this meet?
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
I really want to see how Mountain View competes at this level, because Mountain View had maybe a little bit of a disappointing run at NXR Northwest. I mean, they didn't get out of that bracket. They were kind of favored. Lexi didn't really have a great NXN too. So Mountain View, kind of a bounce back year. I think they are a good squad. They return a lot of talented runners, but can they put it all together is the question mark that I want to see out of them. And if they can do it, I think they can have a strong season.
Yeah, and I think seeing the St. Albertsville team and Allie Weimer now, how did they, because we've seen coming into the season out of Minnesota and also just in general from the national standpoint, we know this team is in the mix, but we just don't necessarily know how good they are yet. To go up against some strong programs right out the gate is going to be fantastic, just to see how they really stack up against these other nationally ranked teams.
Seaside, California, I think you wanted to talk about that briefly, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Great Oak is the big story there. I mean, they always, every year we're waiting for Great Oak to come out and show what they've got this year. Obviously, Tori Gaitan is the big name on the girls' side. See how they come back with their girls' team. The boys' team is somewhat reloading, but I mean, they always have guys coming down the pipeline. This one's obviously broken up into classes, so we won't see like the full team complement together, but we will see. I mean, last year Carlos Carvial went 14:12 in the 3 mile, so it's a fast day, it's a fast race, and yeah, I'm definitely excited to see them. Last year Trabuco Hills was their biggest competition in that senior boys race, so we'll see what happens there.
I mean, for a squad that traditionally has like 100 kid plus on their roster, it's good for a coach like Doug Souls to put all different types of runners with each other in different classes. I mean, then he gets to see how these guys respond in different races, and when they're not, either the heavy hitter or the 5 or 6 trying to fight their way up. Maybe it changes for a sophomore that's maybe more of a 2 or 3 in that sophomore class. So it's probably beneficial for him too to meet like that.
Yeah, and shout out to Brian. He's not here because he's actually in Great Oak right now. He's shooting a workout series with them all week long, hanging out with Doug Souls and that group, so make sure you stay tuned for that.
Yeah, first time we've ever done a workout week with a high school team, so it'll be really cool. Marcus won you know Texas very well. Obviously, it's a big meet. It's a big time for some of the best teams in Texas to roll out early on in the season. So, I mean, Marcus 1, is that a good indication of what we might see?
Yeah, this is the first true, race of the year. Texas, of course, has already been racing for 3 weeks or something at this point. We've seen some fast times, and it's always kind of hard to tell in these courses, which can notoriously be a little short. But Marcus 1 is the first real big test of the season. Get a lot of the Dallas programs. In the past, we've been lucky enough to get Jenks and some of the really good Oklahoma teams come down. Not sure if we're going to see that this year, but this is one of those really pinnacle meets in the Texas season. There's only a handful of true real big invitationals in Texas, just with how spread out the sport is here. So this is one of those few meets. It's going to get a couple thousand kids. There's a ton of history going back to Craig Lutz and those guys going 10 years ago. So there's a lot of comparisons that can be made here, and it's a really good indication of how these athletes and these teams are shaping up, where it's hard to tell comparing year over year some of these other courses, and a lot of them are running 4Ks or 2 miles those first couple weeks. This is a true 5K. It's super flat, but it's trickier than the course plays out to be. And so I think we'll see now what these Texas teams are looking like, because even though we know NXN South is probably going to send 4 Texas teams, potentially, as they most often do, the teams just aren't looking as strong as they have in the past. So this week, I think there's going to be a lot of national eyeballs on Marcus 1, not necessarily because they're ready for Keller's opener like we were last year for a top 5 ranked team, but kind of just to gauge how threatened do we need to be from Texas teams this year.
I'm trying to figure out who the best girls program is. I don't know whether it's Keller or Southlake Carroll or maybe somebody else. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's Houston teams always sneaking in the mix. Always a lot of strong programs out there.
Yeah. And then one of the last meets always big in that South region is Memphis Twilight. Your boy, Silas Winders, going to be there.
My boy? Yeah, no, the Memphis Twilight, obviously one of the biggest meets in Tennessee, one of the biggest meets in this early September, late August area. It's run at night, Saturday night, under the lights on Mike Rose Soccer Complex. Flat, fast. Last year, Titus and Silas went 1-2. Titus is out, graduated, so Silas is back. He's already gone 1540 this year at the Voiles Classic. The kid who took 3rd last year as well, Davis Bub, he was 1559 at the Voiles Classic, so they're going to be going at it again this year. Parkway West High School is going to be back. They were the champions last year on the team side, but they graduated 4 of their top 5. So, but anyway, yeah, it'll be a good race between those two boys for sure. Probably see a lot of low 16s in that one.
Gotta mention Dina Winders, the 4th sibling of the Winders.
Another
the only
one.
girl has
There's another
learned
one.
from all of her brothers. She opened up with an 1842. I mean, is Dina gonna be legit this year?
I think so.
That's a question.
I mean, she's obviously got the family, the family name, the family,
History.
the family history.
Yeah.
Not a lot of girls go under 19 typically at this one. A lot of girls go under 20 though. So she'll probably be up front. She'll be dictating the pace. I mean, I could see her going under 1830 though. It is a pretty flat course if she did what she did.
Yeah.
The last one, so could be seeing some good stuff from Dina Winders.
And you ran Memphis Twilight back in the day, right?
I have. I ran it last year too.
What was your
college race?
Oh, unattached.
Yeah.
What was your best performance at Memphis Twilight?
God, I ran 21 flat in the 4 mile.
Okay.
So it's a flat course, but it gets packed in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people there.
Hot and humid.
And it is a little sticky.
Well, make sure to stay tuned for MileSplit Live. This is not our only show of the week.
Yeah.
On Thursday, Travis and I are going to go over the MileSplit 50, breaking down the top 5 individuals, top 5 teams. You've been waiting for it all year, it seems like. So are you excited for that?
Yeah, I'm super pumped. Let us know. A lot of predictions stuff is going on social media right now. If you want to get in your predictions or your thoughts on who you think the top 5 teams should be and top 5 individuals before we get to that show, we're going to bring up some of those as well and feature some of the best comments. So make sure you get those into us on social media. This is big. Reveal live
You
on
will
Thursday.
be surprised. I am very confident that you will be surprised of these picks. But stay tuned on Thursday. We'll have all that action for you starting at, I believe, our regular time slot. But if not, we'll let you know. Thank you for watching this version of MileSplit Live. We'll be back next Tuesday, same time. Again, we'll see you later.